ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं ममामहे कविं कवीनाम् उपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पदान शृण्वन्नोदिभिस्सीदसादनं महागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामभित्र्यवतु महासरस्वत्यै नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। देवीं वाचमजनयन्त देवाः तां विश्वरूपा पशवो वदन्ति सा नो मन्दिरेषु मूर्जन्दुहाना धेनुर्वागस्मानुपतिष्ठितैतु व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। शिवशक्तिसमारम्भां भास्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मश्रीनाथपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रीललिता महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी समेत श्रीचन्द्रमौलीश्वराय नमः। श्रीकाञ्चीकामकोटिपीठाधिपति जगद्गुरु श्रीशङ्कराचार्य श्रीचरणयोः प्रणामाः। स्वस्ति श्रीमदकलभूमण्डलालङ्कारत्रयत्रिंशत्कोटिदेवता सेवित श्रीकामाक्षी देवी सनाथ श्रीमदेकाम्रनाथ श्रीमहादेवी सनाथ श्रीहस्तगिरिनाथ साक्षात्कारपरमाधिष्ठान सत्यव्रतनामाङ्कित काञ्ची दिव्यक्षेत्रे शारदामठसंस्थितानाम् अतुलसुधारसमादृत्य कमलासनकामिनी धम्मिल्लसंफल्लमल्लिका मालिका निष्यन्दमकरन्दझरी सौवस्तिकभाग्निगुम्भ विजृम्भणानन्दतुन्दलितमनीषिमण्डलानाम् अनवरताद्वैतविद्याविनोदरसिकानां निरन्तरालङ्कृतीकृतशान्तिदान्तिभूम्नां सकलभुवनचक्रप्रतिष्ठापक श्रीचक्रप्रतिष्ठा विख्यातयशोऽलङ्कृतानां निखिलपाषण्डषण्डकण्टकोद्धारणेन विशदीकृतवेदवेदान्तमार्गशन्मतप्रतिष्ठापकाचार्याणां श्रीमत्परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यवर्य श्रीयुगद्गुरु श्रीमच्छङ्करभगवत्पादाचार्याणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमच्चन्द्रशेखरेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमज्जयेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अन्ते वासिवर्य श्रीमशङ्करविजयेन्द्र सरस्वती श्रीपादानां च चरणनिर्णयोः सप्रश्रयं साञ्जलिबन्धं च नमस्कुर्मः। So somebody can check whether the YouTube is okay. That way we won't be wasting okay. So as I had posted in the main group, we have something very interesting to learn today, and something that will go out of the routine of whatever you've been learning in terms of Mundaka Upanishad or even Vishnu Sahasranamam for that matter. And I felt it is very exciting and interesting because it answers a lot of your question in terms of why do we, yeah, thank you. So why do we learn all these things, and what is the benefit, and how does it all connect? You keep talking about various things, and in some discussions you suddenly start about moksha, mukti, chakra, energy, om. So it's a whole potpourri of information that you're getting. So I thought somewhere we need to start getting connected in a more simplistic or scientific manner. What we are talking about, what is the concept, what is the theory that we're talking about. So let's first do justice to Vishnu Sahasranamam. So we stopped at 15. We'll start with 16 onwards, and we'll just do 5 shlokas today. Indriyani mano buddhis sattvam tejo balam dhrutihi. Indriyani mano buddhis sattvam tejo balam dhrutihi. Vasudevātmakānyahu kshetram kshetrajña evacha. After who there is a visarga, you have to chant the visarga as it is, because it is followed by ksha akshara. So Vasudevātmakānyahu kshetram kshetrajña evacha. Sarvāgamānāmācārah prathamam parikalpate. सर्वागमानामाचारः प्रथमं परिकल्पते आचारप्रभवो धर्मो धर्मस्य प्रभुरच्युतः आचारप्रभवो धर्मो धर्मस्य प्रभुरच्युतः ऋषयः पितरो देवा महाभूतानि धातवः ऋषयः पितरो देवा महाभूतानि धातवः जङ्गमाजङ्गमं चेदं जगन्नारायणोद्भवम् जङ्गमाजङ्गमं चेदं जगन्नारायणोद्भवम् योगो ज्ञानं तथा साङ्ख्यं विद्या शिल्पादिकर्म च योगो ज्ञानं तथा साङ्ख्यं विद्या शिल्पादिकर्म च वेदाशास्त्राणि विज्ञानमेतत् सर्वं जनार्दनात् वेदाशास्त्राणि विज्ञानमेतत् सर्वं जनार्दनात् एको विष्णुर्महद्भूतं पृथग्भूतान्यनेकशः एको विष्णुर्महद्भूतं पृथग्भूतान्यनेकशः त्रीन् लोकान् व्याप्य भूतात्मा भुङ्क्ते विश्वभुगव्ययः त्रीन् लोकान् व्याप्य भूतात्मा भुङ्क्ते विश्वभुगव्ययः. So that is shloka number 20. We will stop with that and we will quickly move to Mundaka Upanishad. You have the script with you, right? You want a camera, if you want to zoom out, you can zoom out so I can see both of you. So it's make it easy for interacting. Padmaji, you can turn your video on and you can unmute your mic because there are only two people. I don't think it will create any resonance. So last time we stopped with probably shloka mantra number 9 or mantra number 10. I don't. Wait a second. Let me check that. 7 muchala.
Yeah.
1 second. Second chapter. Second.
Class, the previous week, sir, last week.
I finished 8 and 9 in for the UK India batch, and I asked you to watch the video. So I have completed 8 and 9. So I will just summarize the 9th one quickly. What the essence of that mantra number 9 is. You remember that we talked about lower vidya, higher level of knowledge, paravidya, etc., right? And we also learned in the beginning that all the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, they're all called as Shruti, whereas all the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc. are all Smriti. So just one camera.
Light, additional light.
Lighting is okay. I just needed to see both of you. Okay. I'm able to see both of you. That's fine.
Okay.
So what happens is otherwise SBP. I'm looking at that in the screen and I'm trying to talk to those people. That becomes very difficult. And interactive sessions are difficult. Monologues okay, but. So we talked about lower level knowledge, higher level knowledge, and we talked about rituals, procedures. We talked about mantra japam. We talked about tarpanam, archana, parayanam. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. There's so many terminologies that are being put in front of you, and somebody will say, make sure that you do all the yoga. Somebody will say meditation. Somebody will say workouts. There is a lot of things that are being thrown at you. And frankly speaking, my belief system in my life has always been you learn adequate things in your life that is required, but learn it well and practice it. You don't want to be a jack of all trades and you do nothing. So There are many times I can get fumbled even in the smallest of areas, where a young child will be able to chant 10, 15 shlokas effortlessly, which I may not even know that. And it doesn't bother me because I'm not here to say that I can chant every shloka that is taught in Balavihar. I can chant every shloka that is taught in Vaishnava Parampara. I can chant every shloka of everything memorized. I'm not here to project myself as a superhuman. But what I have been focusing on is understand what the system is, focus on what you are able to relate to and understand, and practice it much more than just reading theories and saying, I finished this, I finished this, I finished this, but I don't know anything of what it is all about. And so my concept of God is a two hand, two leg person sitting on top of the clouds, constantly looking at me, supposed to be focusing only on me and not on anybody else. And I will do every buttering that I have to do by going to the temple, doing Anga Pradashanam, donation, charity. And if I ask something, God has to give me that. This is our concept of God. And the moment you feel that whatever you expect is not happening, you start getting dejected and start questioning the existence of God. So that's a very weak foundation. Instead of that, you first put in efforts to understand the system. It's extremely complex, and so that is the reason why I want to pick up one and explain to you that this is all science. This is real, and why it is connected to us, each one of us as human beings. That is why I picked up this topic today. So in mantra number 9, it talks about the very fact that I alluded to, is where we as children of God, without much of an intelligence, arrogantly feel that we have achieved our purpose. The famous politician from US who gave a statement about a ship, a naval ship, saying completed, mission accomplished. And the country was still fighting for another 15, 20 years after that. It shouldn't be like that. So you must be aware of what your goals are. You must be constantly reminded of it, no matter how much progress you make in your journey, because it's a long journey. So, uh, what causes people to come to those conclusions? Because we live in a yuga of reality show. We live in a yuga of fast food. Everything is instant. You want to do too many things and you don't have time for anything to do with adequate time and justice. So the key word here is the desires. We have desires and desires and desires which never ends. So even if you take the basic Maslow's theory, as per the Western philosophy, the way they have structured it, if you don't have anything, you need food, clothing, and shelter. You are very desperate. If you don't have food and clothing and place to live, and if I come and tell you this, here is a $1 million check, you will just tear it off and throw it because you are hungry. You want food right now, then and there. But moment you go after that and you achieve that goal, you get food and clothing and shelter. Do you think your mind is going to keep quiet? It will immediately ask for the next step. Hey, I need social acceptance, social recognition. I need to be able to safely move around and survive in the society. So it's all social needs and security needs and all of those things come in. As soon as you achieve that, immediately then you need wealth, comfort, and so on and so forth. As soon as you achieve that, then you need recognition, leadership, and being recognized as somebody that is always told Guruji, Guruji, Guruji by people falling at your feet, and people giving you the mic all the time where you can start doing your monologues. These are all our common desires. We love to do that. That is human. And that's a normal mortal human being. So, where are these desires present? In your mind. And if you live your life without even knowing where mind is, what mind is all about, and you keep complaining, saying that I don't know, I can't control it. I'm a human. Of course, I've got emotions. I've got responsibility. So you will see, if you observe closely, one tendency is we learn everything that we should not know very quickly before we start learning what we are supposed to know. And that is how to build excuses, how to give reasons. And the most common sentence that I've always heard, even in my counseling sessions, you don't understand, Kumar, what I'm talking about. You have no clue of the pain that I've gone through. Very standard dialogue, because that is how we would like to position it. For to us, what I go through is important more than what you go through. When I'm in deep misery and sorrow, I don't even have time to assess your level of misery and sorrow. So I would always like to project mine as the best. And that's why some of the movies which are made in the good old days, the golden era of movies, it creates a lasting impression. As I was growing up, there was a Tamil movie called Irukodugal. If you know, very simple but powerful message. Padmaji, that I don't know, you watched that movie or even heard of that? You're on mute.
No, no, it's not. No, this is Soka Janagi, Gemini Ganesh.
Yes.
Savitri.
Have you watched that movie?
Yeah.
Simple concept is simple.
It should be in all languages. In
It
South.
should be there. If not, you watch it.
Yeah.
இரண்டு கோடுகள். இரண்டு means two. கோடுகள் means line.
You go to in Tamil.
இரு கோடுகள். So it is like you draw a line. It looks like it's a big line. It's a long line. Until you place another one which is longer than that by its side. Suddenly this looks smaller. This is the essence of whole thing. So for you, your problems are the ultimate that God is testing you. Until you hear something much more complex that somebody else is going through. Correct? So there is no absolute value for all these things. These are all relative, which means you can summarize desires driven by drives and driven by mind. It puts you into a chaos, and happiness and sorrow are temporary. They've got a very, very powerful shelf life. What we consider as happiness, and we are in pursuit of getting the happiness, is basically an exciting moment, temporary moment, not happiness. You watch IPL match, Mumbai Indians, the guy scored three sixes in the last over. You never expected him to win. Suddenly he turns the table and he wins even two balls to spare. You are excited. But you call that I'm very happy today, Mumbai Indians won. You didn't get a dime, you didn't get a penny, you didn't do anything, you didn't play, you didn't get recognition, you're not going to get the trophy, but still you say that you are happy. It's actually not happy, it's excitement, right? And you want to forcibly associate with that, and it is a very powerful thing called mind that drives you to behave like this. You can be 60 years old, 80, 90, 30, 10, it doesn't matter. This is very common. And the less educated you are, the more excited you can get at simple things. And what I mean by that excitement is got a shelf life is suddenly when you're celebrating and you're so keen to watch the presentation, post-match presentation, and listen to all the great dialogues from people, you hear that there is something fell on the floor in your home, or your son or daughter needs help, and you suddenly hear bad news about your neighbor or somebody. What, something else happens. There you go. All your happiness and satisfaction will go down the drain. You're deep into sorrow and misery. So while you will be crediting God for being so kind to you, the next moment you will say, God, I don't even know whether whether you exist. I don't know why you're so unfair to all of us. That is how flimsy our mind is. So it is very essential to understand that the havoc the mind plays and be able to control it, because all of these actions that we do, we tend to do it with the expectation. I will do a puja. Please make sure that my son and daughter gets their admission in this college. I'll do this. Please make sure that he gets a good husband or wife. There is always an expectation or a tagline attached to everything that we do, right? Human tendency. There's nothing that you can deny, and you can't feel guilty because you're human. But you definitely have to hold yourself accountable if, knowing this much, you don't take action in that direction. And again, the course correction is not instantaneous. Okay, Kumarji, enough of this. I get the point. Tell me the solution. So from tomorrow, I will implement it, and day after tomorrow onwards, I have to be in control of my mind. I wish it was that easy. Everybody would have been a champion by now. So that is not the case. So point is being made here is you can move from happiness to sorrow in a very short time, fleeting. That's why it's called you live in a state of delusion. There is also a reference in Mundaka Upanishat that indirectly they are saying deluded fools, that you start with the grand agenda of moksha, liberation, etc., etc., but even you don't even pay attention to the definition of those things and what it means. And by the time you learn a few tricks of trade, you learn a few suktams, and you learn, somebody calls you to do puja at their home, you think you are the Ganapadigal. It's all very natural tendency. But it is important that we keep ourselves grounded. There are many, many more people, tapasvis in this planet Earth, that lived their life ahead of us, that will come after us, and that are coexistent as we are existing. Coexistent. Mahapurushas. So it is extremely important that we keep track of what we are doing and what we sought out to as a journey, and where we are and how much more to go. That monitoring and close correction is very, very important. So, uh, why is it so important? And the importance here is, we all keep saying karma, karma, karma. That means you do things, either a japam or a puja or whatever it is, or sandhyavandanam, and you immediately at the end of that you expect certain fruits or results of those actions. I did this, so I want this. I'm expected to have this, right? And uh, the experience that you get, what we call as experience, is the semblance of the consciousness that is reflected through that intellect. That intellect itself is which you are proud of, saying that I know, I'm capable of understanding of. Yeah, it doesn't take much time for me to do this. We are in a haste, in a hurry to always conclude. Whereas if you start taking a pause and go into the detail, step by step, and break it down, you will understand how complex some of these things are, if you don't pay attention. But at the same time, those complex things can be easily understood if you spend enough time. And some of the things that if you learn once, it is a lifetime learning forever. And consider them as the Lego blocks or the building blocks. If you don't understand the table, 2 into 2 is equal to 4, 2 into 3 equal to 6, you will not be able to learn higher level of mathematics, right? And if you don't learn your mathematics and algebra, you cannot do applied mathematics. If you do not do applied mathematics, maybe you cannot even understand the concepts of fluid mechanics and how to solve problems in fluid mechanics. So this is a very structured way of doing it. So uh, point here is being made is that when you perform those actions, you perform the homa, yajna, or parayanam or japam, etc., they don't give you lasting happiness, right? So there is a threefold defect in the experience of the fruits of actions. So when you are experiencing the fruits, that momentary satisfaction or excitement that you get, there is a threefold effect. So an action is generally performed with an expectation, correct? That it will bring a desired end, that it will take you to a logical conclusion. And because they do not have connections with anything permanently, they shift their centers quickly. That is one of the defect. In Maslow's theory, I told you, as soon as you get food, clothing, shelter, your expectation itself is shifting. The goalpost is changing constantly, right? Even in a simple process of doing puja, and expectation of the admission for your son or daughter in a school, when you started the puja, you may be thinking that at least get it in Rutgers. But while doing the puja, suddenly you get some information that makes you feel, oh, why my son should be now capable of getting into the Ivy League. As you see that the prospects are improving, you shift the goalpost again. Oh, why not Harvard? Suddenly, if the son doesn't get admission in Harvard, then he becomes a failure. This is one of the defect of having that expectation, kind of a action expectation of result or fruits theory. So we need to understand that, take a pause, take a break, and say step back and gain control of that. So once they shift, whatever was supposed to be success a minute ago can become failure the next minute. Your judgment changes very quickly. And if it was just changing of goalpost, where it is pushing you to higher pursuit or higher level of competency or skill, it is okay. But that is not always the case. It also becomes a cause for sorrow that brings you down. Instead of motivating you further, it brings you down, although you may be succeeding in your path, right? That desire to get quick results and uh, payback. So that is one defect. Then the experience of happiness through the fruits of actions is not real happiness. As I said, they are not really happiness, because if it was happiness, it will be a long lasting. These are temporary moments of excitement, elevated state of energy, etc. And the mind is temporarily experiencing that, temporarily. So, and you think and you start attributing the success to many factors that it may not even have connection to. It may be that Amazon would have decided to deliver that at that time based on their shipping, logistics, etc. But you waited for that particular item to arrive. It didn't arrive, but then you went to the temple and said, God, please make sure that you deliver it on time. And Amazon truck driver delivers it. You start connecting the dots. Oh, that is because of this God who I appealed, and he is so impressed with me and my actions. I'm getting the result. So you start doing all these cranky things and meaningless things without even knowing what you're doing, because you have no other choice. And it is scary also to say, if I don't get that happiness, and take what it comes, because there are many phrases and sayings, right? Be contented, learn to be happy with what you have, what you get. We apply all those rules in an improper way at the improper time, to say, Arey, I'm celebrating the happiness of Amazon and I'm crediting God for that. What's your problem in life? There's no problem, because what you experience is your success, what you go through as sorrow is your problem. It is never somebody else's problem. Even amongst family members, between husband and wife, just because you are tied the knot, it doesn't mean that if you are happy, the wife is going to be happy. That path has to be clearly understood. Each one, you come alone and you go alone. It's your individual balance sheet. When you live together, it is joint karma that gets executed. Other than that, your actions are not going to reduce somebody's happiness or sorrow, and vice versa. You are responsible for yourself. So the third defect is you lack the understanding, despite your education, that if you have, let's say, 10 desires, it may not be possible that all 10 are going to be fulfilled in this Janma. So, how do you draw that if it is 5, I'm happy, if it is 6, I'm very happy, if it is 7, I'm super happy? You don't do that. Even if you have 8 out of 10 fulfill, your mind gets latched onto the 2 that you didn't get, to give you enough reason for misery and sorrow. These are all symptoms and manifestations of a mind that has not been brought under control, mind that has not been understood, how the system works, what are the tools to bring it under control. You are just letting your mind free pass to do what it normally would like to do. So you may have to be continuously doing what you're doing as a good karma, where you square off many of your debits in this janma, and it will make your next janma short and sweet. If there is only a little bit of catching up to do, you may be able to do a catching up with a very short life in the next janma, and you're done. You're liberated. So you can't say, oh, what's the point? I'm already 60, I'm already 70. No, you may be living for another 40 years. That's a long life. There is plenty to do. So don't say, I'm already old and what's the point in doing it? I've already lived a bad life or ignorant life. It doesn't make sense. The moment you feel that there is something that you understand, embark on the path and make sure that you're taking care of your life. That's the moral of the story. So uh, the desires has got another huge problem, which is it entraps you into bondage and attachments, right? The moment you buy a Toyota Corolla or a Kia Cephia, the next thing is, who will sit in this car here? Now, I need next one. I need next. There's no end to it. So you start getting attached to more and more things, as if your life cannot go on without all of those things that you suddenly learn about, right? And it's a very, very unique and funny thing that we need to appreciate, in the sense. And there are methods by which you do it. I can share some of the secrets that I do. When I go to Mumbai, I don't stay in some big homes or hotels. I go back to that same house where I was born and brought up, along with three other siblings. So six of us adults grew up in that 120, 140 square feet home, right? I still sleep on the floor if required with the Jamakala. People ask me, why do you do such crazy things? I said, no, it's always important for you to remind yourself, no matter what kind of luxury you enjoy in your life, remember that they're all temporary. They can go at any time, and you need to keep your feet grounded and make sure that you don't forget your roots. So these are some of the techniques and tools that one need to understand, and control that mind, or understand that mind, and don't let it create chaos. So it is important that you understand All the experience that you talk about is through that intellect that you have, and the mind and the senses. All this experience comes through the senses, right? So all of these are instrument of knowledge, and the action function in the relative plane alone. It is relative, not absolute. You would have said, I'm extremely happy that something more. You suddenly get a $1 million lottery, that happiness will seem nothing. Now you are super happy. So it's always relative, right? So the other defect or the problem with this philosophy or this pattern of behavior is, when you feel that what you do is bringing you happiness and success, you tend to get attracted to sycophants. You push away people that would probably put that words of wisdom in your head of still some of the challenges and issues that you have. And you would love to hear people who will say, "Oh, Kumar, you are the greatest man. I mean, without you, I would have never been able to do Devi Mahadev." I do keep getting that over and over again. Not just here. There are people in India who probably watch my YouTube, or they saw me chant in some Parayanam somewhere, and they come and give all the credit. Oh, it's all thanks to you. You can't stop them from doing it, correct? Because they are doing their karma. But you need to be aware of the impact it has on you. You don't start sitting on top of a tree and think that you are the greatest and you are the magician that makes everybody chant. No, you are only a messenger and a tool. The result of whether the other person chants or does not chant is purely based on their effort and their commitment to learning. Because if you take the example of our own class, Devi Madhyam, I give this, or Veda class, I give the same input to everybody, right, on the call or in front of me. Some learn faster, some learn, some take time. So if I were the magician, then it should work equally on everybody, right? Is not the case. So these are the things that you need to be aware of, that you need to create people who are bold enough to give you the right sense of advice, words of wisdom, so that you can understand what is happening with you and what you need to do. And if there are course corrections that you need to do, it can come from a child, it can come from a relative, it can come from a neighbor or a friend or anybody, right? So keep your eyes and ears open instead of becoming the deluded fools that Mundaka Upanishad is referring to, and don't keep jumping saying that you achieved your goal. So, uh, if you reject those words of wisdom, what you do is you do experimentation, trial and error, and you don't realize that your minute is every minute is ticking in your life. So you can't reverse the clock. So whether you want to do trial and error, or whether you want to take the words of wisdom from experienced people and take that path with faith and this thing, and that's where the Guru Parampara system is so important. Guru is not for the sake of saying Guru, you're my Guru and you're Guruji and all that stuff. Is not just for the sake of flattering or just satisfying yourself. It takes a lot of devotion and belief and trust and faith to accept somebody as a guru, because then that person's input, you take it seriously, you implement it, and it shapes up your life and consequential actions or results of those actions, right? So that part is very, very important. And if you don't do any of these things, there is a very significant chance of intense amount of grief, uh, and you will start repenting for your own actions. So that is basically what mantra number 9. Avidyayam bahudha vartamana vayam kritartha ityabhimanyanti balaha yat karmino na pravedayanti ragattena ragattena turaha kshina lokashachyavante. Avidyayam is an ignorance. Bahuda is in multifarious ways. Vartamanaha existing. Bala boys. Vayam we. Kritarthaha of accomplished aims. Abhimanyanti means think. So don't get immersed in ignorance and consider yourself as an accomplished person. And the thing is mind attachment, because desires, then it gets converted to greed, it becomes very dangerous. You're going down deep into the wrong directions. It'll take a long time to reverse and come back. So all of these heavenly enjoyments that you gain, whether it be in the form of recognition, appreciation, somebody falling at your feet for blessings, or iPhone or iPad or a laptop or whatever, money, lottery, they are all very temporary. And you need to understand that and believe that and truly take it seriously in implementing in your life. So, uh, the performers of these sacrifices also need to understand. People who are performing puja or going to the temple, doing Anga Pradashanam, and I did 108 Pradakshina today. Will God be happy with me and deliver what I want? Is not God is not a courier. So you have to understand God is within you. That is where the direction is, the pointing is, right? So he's not sitting in a temple as a two-leg person waiting for your arrival and saying, okay, the courier is delivered, here's a packet of happiness or success. So if you go to mantra number 10, Ishtapurtam Manyamana Varishtham Nanyachreyo Vedayante Pramadhaha नाकस्य पृष्ठे ते सुकृतेनुभूत्वेमं लोकं हीनतरं वा विशन्ति. Pramudhaha means the deluded fools. Is talking about us, not so knowledgeable. Ishtapurtam, the sacrifices and the charitable works that is referenced in the scriptures, in the Vedas and everything, right? Do this, do that, Parayanam, Homam, Tarpanam, Shraddham, everything. Varishtham, supreme. Manyamanaha, thinking. Anyate, other than this. Shreyaha, beneficial. Itina vedayante, do not know. Te means they. Sukrute, the merits acquired from good deeds. Whether the good deeds be a puja or a charity or donation or helping somebody, a deserving person, suffering person, whatever may be the action. Nakasya prashthe, in the heavenly regions. Anubhutva, having enjoyed. Imam lokam, this world. Heenataram, inferior. Va means or, Vishanti means enter. So to summarize, the deluded fools think that sacrifices and the charitable works, which is a reference in the Shastras or the Vedas, as of supreme value, do not know the other blessed goal. Can any one of you say what is that other blessed goal that is being referenced here?
Realizing the Brahm.
Correct. Correct. So remember the word mukti. I'm going to now dissect that word into two parts and get clarity on that. So if they don't understand this, what they do not realize is, having enjoyed the fruits of all the heavenly benefits and the fruits of their good karma, they come down again to this world. And when coming down means it's an inferior demotion, or you're being put through the same set of misery, etc. And we believe in the concept of birth and rebirth. So rebirth is not a blessing; it's a demotion. You're not qualified to go to the next loka. Go back, do your exercise again, and try one more attempt. And it is not something like I'm blessed to be human again. As much as you can claim superiority of being blessed as a human, we also undergo the maximum amount of misery and sorrow, pain, grief in this life. The question is, do you want to go through that again? Or do you want to take that opportunity which God is giving in front of you and then latch it on and go? Because God is not going to push everything into you. God will keep on showing path, directions, create opportunities. It is up to you to grab it with both hands. And if you keep giving the same old excuse of saying, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, you don't know how to reorganize yourself in your life, you can't keep blaming God. When you're blaming God, makes no difference to God, right? So Ishtapurta means, Ishta means sacrifices enjoined in the Shruti, in the Vedas, and uh, Purta means the charitable works enjoyed in the Smriti. Smriti is all the Bhagavad Gita, Puranas, etc. Right? And any of the action that you may do, you may have gone and done help for somebody in their home for their puja. You may be helping constructing a road or digging a well or a pond or providing water to the thirsty person, anything, it doesn't matter. So all of those things do not take you to the blessed goal by automatically. That is the point being made here. So the blessed goal is the mukti, which is attained by jnana, and we will have chance to get that thing more elaborated in the future other mantras as we go into the Mundaka Upanishad, right? So you enter again and again. That means you're born into this human world. Sometimes you may be even pushed down the hierarchy as animals or plants. There's no guarantee that you'll be born as a human being. You got to be very careful of that before you start taking things for granted. Now, number 11, tapashraddhe ye hyupavasantyaranye shanta vidvamso भैक्षचर्यां चरन्तः सूर्यद्वारेण ते विरजाः प्रयान्ति यत्रामृतः स पुरुपो हव्ययात्मा. Very tongue twisting, complex mantras, but I will also record the audio of how to chant it in a nice tone. For now, try to pay attention to the meaning because this is very powerful. It will give you direction to your life if you start understanding the simple concept being proposed here. So, tapashraddhe ye shupavasantyaranye shanta vidvamso bhaikshyacharyam charantah. Ye means those who, he means verily, shantaha of peaceful mind. Very important word. We'll go to the detail of what that means, who are all called with a peaceful mind. Vidvamsaha, the learned. Bhaikshyacharyam, the vow of mendicancy. Do you know what the meaning is? What is mendicant?
One who sannyasi.
Correct. So you cannot use the word beggar. Although mendicant is a beggar in the literal English vocabulary, it is a person who is leading an austere life, person who does not work for money, for the heavenly enjoyments, but leads an austere life. That is the commitment you make. And also, I've said this again and again. When you say sannyasi, don't immediately go for that saffron clad cloth and dadi and all this stuff. That is not what it is. If you do upavasa as a very practicing this thing, that itself is tapas, part of tapas. You work hard, extremely hard for Laksha Chandi. That is tapas. That's why it's all called you're participating yourself in a yajna. To conduct a yajna of that scale, you need a village. It cannot be done by one person, right? So, vow of mendicancy, bhaikshacharya. Charantaha means practicing. So, it brings another point that just don't make tall promises in the heat of the moment. Oh, Kumar, now you're opening up my eyes. From tomorrow, I'm going to live this, I'm going to drop this, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. You make a lot of agenda until the next IPL match comes. And then you start building excuses. Why? I started there. I'm very committed. Please understand. And understand my problems, why I'm committed, but I'm not able to execute. There is no fruits without action. Ours is a karma based system. Thought alone, if it can get you moksha, everybody will get moksha. Right? So it is important that you practice that vow that you take. Aranye in the forest. So the reference here is that you move away from this glamorous world of concrete buildings and luxury, and as if you're living in the forest. So that's why if you see any of the old scriptures, anytime you talk of a sannyasi's ashram, etc., they're all shown in the forest. Right? There are no sealy bed, number bed, nothing. On the floor or the mat, with furnitures and assets created with using natural products. So that is what you call it as austere life. Then upavasanti, Aranye means forest. Tapashraddhe means in penance and faith. Upavasanti, live in the forest. Te means they. Virajaha means purged of all impurities. That is the meaning. Surya Dwarena, by the path of the sun. Prayanti, go. Yatra means where. Saha means that. Amritaha means immortal. Avyayatma means imperishable. Purupaha means being. So only when you go into the path of austere life, start putting the rule of detachment, and you slowly start getting out from all this entrapment or cobwebs that you're caught in, that you have a shot at the final goal of liberation. And key to that whole thing is mind, understanding your mind and getting it in control. So when you're talking of those wise men of peaceful mind who live in the forest in penance and faith, leading the life of mendicancy, freed from all the impurities. Impurities mean anything that corrupts your mind. Verily attained by the path of the sun, that the world where the immortal imperishable is. That is referencing the Brahman, right? So, of peaceful mind means men of self control. Here again, men means don't go into the gender and genitals. Men means in principle. So, of self control, because without any peace of mind, you cannot attain the uh, final goal. And to have peace of mind, you need to have your senses brought under complete subjugation. Complete means no means no. You cannot let even a momentary break of that vow and say, okay, today I will have ice cream. From tomorrow again, I will not have sugar. That doesn't work, right? Who live in faith. The whole thing means sannyasins who lead a austere life. I've already explained that. And freed from all the impurities means freed from the taints of desire, ego, the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. When you say it's all about all the kamya, all the kama or desires of many things that you have, and which builds ego. As soon as you get those immediate fruits of the results or actions, you develop ego, which is also not good. The immortal, imperishable being is referencing the Hiranyagarbha or Brahma. So when we go into the depth of the stuff that I want to share, um, we will go into the whole concept and notion of what is Hiranyagarbha, what is Brahma, what is Brahman, etc. You'll start connecting the dots, right? So now I want to give the two parts, Padmaji, which I told you, is the lower heaven is the immediate satisfaction of IPL being won by Mumbai Indians, kind of thing, or some immediate good thing that happens to you after you perform a puja or a homa, right? That is referenced in the earlier mantras. Shruti speaks of attainment to the highest heaven, which is moksha or liberation, which is the Satya Loka or the world of Brahma. And that only comes through devotional practices and self control. That is a key word. So, the understanding that you need to have is you're talking of karma mukti or gradual emancipation and not to jivan mukti. When you talk of mukti, these are the two parts that you need to understand. Krama mukti, which is gradual emancipation, and not to jivan mukti, which is immediate emancipation, which is attainable in this life by means of the supreme knowledge. For attaining jivan mukti, you need to have that higher level knowledge. There is no compromise on that. So for a jivan mukta, there is no going anywhere at any time. As soon as the supreme knowledge of the soul dawns, the bubble bursts and the limitation of the soul disappears, which means all what you keep on saying, it is not possible, it is not possible. Like I tried to do meditation, it's not possible. I'm getting distracted. I have this responsibility, I have that, I have this, etc. That complex challenge all of a sudden will burst. And suddenly you will see as if you're a lava that has come out of the cocoon and you're able to see the world. That is what we say when we talk of Kundalini rising and you bring it to the Vishuddha Chakra, you see lights equal to thousand suns. So all what you see, iPhone, iMac, iPad, etc., will all very clearly be seen that they don't exist. They are Maya. So when they don't exist, the attachment is not there, right? And that is when you get to the connection with the real truth, the absolute truth. Uh, So that is, in a sense, the two meaning of the two mantra. Some reason I don't know why. Maybe I talked too much. I ran short of time, so I don't know if it's a hard stop. We can put a full stop right now. Otherwise, if you have 15 minutes, I would like to keep you at the same speed of the other people, the other UK batch. If not, you can say you will watch the YouTube and pick up whatever is the information. But I just wanted to set this foundation for a very, very important concept that you all need to know. So you want to stop now or you want to go on for another 15 minutes?
We can continue.
Is it okay? Bona and Ramsu? Okay, great.
And
So,
yeah,
yeah,
just drink some water.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I had a question. So
Hmm.
a human being who has realized, who has the Kundalini realized, will that person be able to lead a normal life?
Ah,
Because
okay.
he's not attached in this world. So what holds him in this world?
Okay, so first I want to make sure that I want to give simple analogy, right? So that there is no misunderstanding of any of the terminologies that I'm using and leading to wrong expectations. When you are in grade 4 or 5 itself, your parents set up the goal. You are to be a doctor. You have no clue what a doctor means. What happens is you form an opinion of what the doctor means based on your first impression that somebody has put into your head. A doctor means saving lives. Doctor means having the authority to take a knife and cut somebody's body. Each one will have their own perception. It's like the interpretation of an elephant in various forms depending on which part of the whole system you're coming in contact with. So this whole Kundalini business is not something like again a small object in your body that you can say, okay, keep push. I'll do some 10 pranayamas and 20 push-ups and it'll go up to the next center. No, it is years and years of tapas, and literally it is a massive task to be able to implement what you dream. Otherwise, it is called delusion. I have done this many a times. Oh, I can reduce my belly and I'm going to do workout. I've done up to 100 push-ups. What happened? One small excuse, or maybe a flight to India for a trip or a daughter's marriage or something. Blum, gone. To get back to that routine, it is taking months. That is not called tapas. So that is one thing that I want to set that expectation right. Those are just miniature efforts and hard work that you're putting as part of the overall requirement. Okay. So now answering your question, if you are really saying your Kundalini has reached this level, it means you are the master of many things related to your body and mind. You have established that connection between the two, and literally, where there are people who, when they reach that Vishuddha level, they have control of bringing it down or taking it up at will because they know all the tools and they are now devoid of all the entrapment, which means you can have that realization and still lead a normal life. Now, it's a very tricky thing in English to use such words. What is normal? What is normal for me may be abnormal for you. So don't go by those loose definition of terms. The significance is to understand what it means. What is normal?
Normally, still that person has to live his
Yes,
livelihood.
and I'll
He
give you an
has to
example. Was
work for his
Mahapariva?
life.
Mahapariva is God, right? The God was living with you. So, are we contradicting ourselves? Hey, God is
But
not a two-hand, two-legged person sitting up there in the cloud, and suddenly we are saying God is there with you, moving around with you. Ramana Maharishi is again a Mahapurusha. There are many such people who have done that tapas, and you should make a trip to Kailash Mansarovar if you have not done it. It will transform your way of thinking, understanding who you are, what you are, and why you're born in this world as a human. And the beauty is, if you stand there in the entry first sight of Mansarovar, you will see the enormity of Himalayas. You won't believe there are small caves there in those tall mountains. In those caves, there are people sitting for years and doing tapas in that cold without clothes. So what you and I understand as life, how can you live your life without drinking water? See, he had to get up and go and drink water. Somebody else may have to go to the restroom and relieve. Somebody may have to eat something constantly because of the hunger. Otherwise, you are suffering from headache. Headache is a big pain, muscle pain. We are trapped into all those trivial things. But when you say that you're attaining that liberation means these things don't really matter. So, Mahapurusha, when you see, they will not wear any clothes. They will always be naked. Most of them don't even need to take bath. They don't shower daily basis. They don't have daily sandhyavandanam to do. Nityanushthanam. They are past all that stuff. I'm sure all of you would have attended Raghuji's explanation of the Upanishad in Sri Vidya, and I want you to tell me which Upanishad is that. There are five Upanishads he has taught, right? So which one starts by saying no Veda is required, no Niyamangals are required? Opening sentence. Take it as a homework and tell me in the next class. So if instead of reading 2 into 2 equal to 4 tables first and then going to what is applied mathematics 16, 18 years later, you start from the other side, you're going to get everything upside down. That is for somebody who has traversed this path and on the doorstep of attaining a Mahapurusha status. They are saying, now I don't need any of those things because they have already conditioned their mind and body and they realize who they are and they're able to see the difference between the Maya and the real world. Make sense? So, short answer to your question is yes, you can lead a normal life, but a life that is normal in that elevated status. Because when you moment you say normal life means I have to take bath and do sandhyavandanam and watch TV and be on WhatsApp for 2 hours, you are contradicting yourself. I just want to make sure that you understand that, right? So quickly, let me get you to the this thing. I shared two slokas. If you have it in front of you, that will be good.
Yes.
So what is the first shloka? Can anybody read? It is Arthashrayatvam Shabdasya Drashtur Lingatvamevacha. Arthashrayatvam Shabdasya Drashtur Lingatvamevacha Tanmatratvam cha Nabhaso Lakshanam Kavayo Vidhu. Tanmatratvam cha Nabhaso Lakshanam Kavayo Viduhu. Do you know where this shloka is from? Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Purana,
Okay.
Canto 3, Chapter 26, Shloka 33. The meaning of that is Artha Ashrayavatvam. Artha Ashrayatvam means that which conveys the meaning of an object. Shabdasya of sound. Drashtu of the speaker. Lingatvam, that which indicates the presence. Eva means also. Cha and. Tanmatratvam, subtle element. Nabhasa of ether. Lakshanam is definition. Kavaya, learned persons. Vidu, no. No means knowledge, not N-O, K-N-O-W. So, how many of you know what is sound? I'll try to save time because I said I'll wrap up in 15 minutes. You're taught under the Macaulay system, sound is you make some vibration of the air that results in sound, and so that is sound. Disturbance of the air around you or through vibrations is sound. If I ask you what is noise, you will come up with your own fancy definition of noise. Oh, anything about 75 decibel is noise. Who told you? Maybe my hearing power is so poor that unless you speak to me at 90 dB, I can't hear anything of what you say. So, what if 90 dB is normal for me? So, these are all relative things. And we spend our life without putting any serious effort to understand the nitty gritties of all these things that happens around us, which is why we are lost. But when we learn and commit time to learning something like Mundaka Upanishad, it opens up your eyes. It tells you what are your duties and responsibilities to allocate enough time to understand basics that impacts your life and reminds you of your duties and responsibilities. It brings clarity, right? So that literal translation of the shloka is persons who are learned and who have true knowledge, they define sound as that which conveys the idea of an object. Sound as something that conveys the idea of an object indicates the presence of a speaker. The beauty is you're focused on the vibration and sound, etc., ripples. You forget the source. So you cannot have sound as just that part. Without the speaker, there is no sound. Make sense? See, when you take a pause and try to put the devil is in the detail, your learning is different. Your appreciation is different. Screened from our view and constitutes the subtle form of ether. Ether means akasha, the medium. Okay? So here, the meaning in detail is as soon as we speak of hearing, we are saying that there has to be a speaker. Without the speaker, there's no question of hearing. So therefore, in Vedic knowledge, which is known as Shruti, Shruti means that which is received by hearing, is also called as Apaurusha, right? It means not spoken by any person or materially created by a human being. It is stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam that Tene Brahma Hrida, the sound of Brahman or the Veda, was impregnated into the heart of Brahma, the original learned man, referenced in the shloka as Adi Kavaye. So when you say that there has to be a speaker and Brahma is the original learned man, who was speaking to him? Was there another human being or God that was giving him the discourse? The answer is the Godhead. That means the Paramatma, the Shiva himself transmitted that knowledge to Brahma. So ultimate master is Shiva. So Vedic knowledge was imparted within his heart by the supreme personality of Godhead, which is referenced in Shiva, who is seated within everyone, in all of us as Paramatma. Representative of Paramatma, the Jivatma, right? Vedic knowledge is understood to be spoken by him, so it is supposed to be devoid of any defects, perfect. There is no material creation there by a human being with a hidden agenda. So if you hear something from a very conditioned soul and we assume from Brahman through all the Guru Parampara, we are getting that knowledge, then that knowledge is called perfect knowledge, right? So if you receive that Vedic knowledge from Brahma in disciplic succession, which is why the Guru Parampara is important, not learned through Google, Internet, audio, CD, etc., which is all man-made, there can be defects in that. Every word we hear has a meaning behind it. So as soon as we hear the word water, there is substance, water behind the word. As soon as we hear the word God, there's a meaning to it, right? That if you meaning the explanation of the word God is God Himself, then it is perfect. If you start speculating the meaning of God, each one starts their own interpretation and teaches their own understanding of God, then it is imperfect. So you don't rely too much on the commentary by mortal human beings, rely on the source documentation. So Bhagavad Gita is considered as the original document spoken by God Himself. That is perfect knowledge. So uh, next question. For words, you need uh, akshara, right? What? How did the word akshara originate? How did it come? Any idea? U. It starts with end with ksha. So that is why it is called akshara. From A to Z is what we say, right? Akshaha, akshara. Similarly, do the homework of what is how the word Om was constructed. because Om is the starting point and the source for Veda. So, in Vedic tradition, the most important principles of the existence is the sound, and it is differentiated by four features. And what Veda says is it is the source of matter, object, and it is also the key to become free from it, liberation. So, you need to understand the four stages of sound as explained in the Vedic text. Without understanding that, without believing in that, without practicing that, you cannot even assume you are embarking on the journey of liberation, which is where mantra japam is very, very important. Another homework. What is the word origin source of meaning of the word mantra? So when you're trying to understand the four levels of sound, you have to understand it as defined in the scriptures. So I gave you the example from Srimad Bhagavatam, which gave the definition of Shabda. Okay. Now, I already talked about in Mundaka Upanishad what they are saying. Those learned and those who have true knowledge will say sound is not just a vibration created. You need a speaker, you need a medium, and it's about a reference to an object. So Artha Ashraya is the word, first word in the sloka, which means the shelter of the meaning. So in the Vedic text, aksharas are called bijas or seeds of existence. Bijas. What is the speciality of a bija? Can somebody say?
It is a seed. Base. Grow.
It can grow, but more importantly,
It has potent energy in it.
then what else?
Other seeds.
Fine. Main thing is it cannot be broken down. Infallible. Okay. Supreme. So the akshara is called infallible or supreme. It is also synonym for pranava, which is om. Pranava is om, which I said find out the meaning of pranava or om because they are the source of the Vedic hymns. Now I have given you another shloka which you can open up. This is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 15. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahmanityam yagne pratishthitam. Karma means duty, Brahma means in the Vedas, Udbhavam means manifested, Vidhi means you should know. Akshara from the imperishable God, Samudbhavam directly manifested, Tasmat therefore, Sarvagatam all pervading, Nityam eternally, Yajne in sacrifice, Pratishtitam established. I will try to give you the written meaning, even if you can't replay you can take notes later. The literal translation is the duties for human beings are described in the Vedas that we talked about, right? The ritual sutras, etc., etc. And the Vedas are manifested by God Himself. So the Lord is all pervasive and omnipresent. Omnipresent means that God is also present in the acts of the sacrifice. While you are giving the ahuti, while you are doing the parayana, while you are doing the mantra japam, God is right there. So when Vedas are emanated from the breath of God, there is a beautiful explanation in Brihadaranya Upanishad. That is another fantastic Upanishad if you are interested in learning. Asya mahato bhutasya shwasitametad yad rigvedo yajurveda samavedo tavangirasaha. That means the four Vedas, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, all emanated from the breath of the Supreme Divine Personality. So in these eternal Vedas, the duties of humans have been laid very clearly. They have been planned in such a way that through their performance, materially engrossed persons may gradually learn to control their desires. So those tools that has been talked about, Archana, Darpana, Mantra, etc., are the tools to gain control of your desires and slowly elevate yourself from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion and knowledge and to the mode of goodness. And all these duties are enjoined or referenced in the scriptures as yajna. Okay. And yajna means God, not different from God. Now, the beauty here is in Tantra Sara, the definition of sound is taken to a different level. And that is what we will learn in the next class. But observe what the Vedic texts say, what the Bhagavad Gita says, Purana says, what the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says. You will see there is so much of importance to Agni, Yajna, lower level knowledge, higher level knowledge, moksha, liberation, Jivan Mukti, Krama Mukti, etc., etc. That means these are the core meanings of all that you need to know as a human being, right? So, in the next class, we will take the connection from here to understanding how it is elaborated in Tantra Sara as to what sound is and how it is connected to mind and consciousness. Make sense? So, that will give you that very visible ability to connect the dots and not like, oh, we are talking of too many things. I don't know what to do, when to do. Those questions will be automatically answered. All right. So, thank you so much. I took 3 more minutes, but I hope it was effective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We have to thank you, Kumar.
We have to thank you. Yes.
No, I'm also blessed to be having that opportunity